The US Supreme Court has once again kind of weighed in on the Texas anti-abortion law, their so-called bounty hunting law, allowing it to stay in place. The ban is still there, but there are a few exceptions, a few details that we should know. So they ruled today that abortion providers in Texas can challenge a state law banning most abortions after 6 weeks, allowing them to sue at least some state officials in federal court, despite the procedural hurdles imposed by the law's unusual structure, which we've talked about many times. But the Supreme Court refused to block the law in the meantime, saying that lower courts should consider the matter. So sort of delaying things. They know what they're doing. We got more details, but just really fast. They know what they're doing. They know what Texas is doing. Texas is doing this novel procedure of the whole bounty hunter thing, specifically to try to make it more difficult for courts to weigh in on this. But the end result is effectively nullifying more than a half century of Supreme Court precedent when it comes to reproductive rights. And there's not a single person in the country, and especially in the Supreme Court, that does not know that that is not just the effect, but the stated goal of this effort in Texas. So allowing the ban to continue is not only at least in the short term, rewarding the people that did this in Texas, but it's also gonna put some wind in the sails of those in other states, including in Ohio, who are considering a similar sort of law that will outlaw abortion in a similar way or accomplish other means. If you can do the bounty hunting thing where it's not the state technically that's getting involved for abortion, you can do it for all sorts of other pet issues that they've had issues with the Supreme Court on. So I wanna get both of your thoughts about this. The ban continues, but challenges can go forward, although we sort of also know what the Supreme Court would eventually end up saying if it works its way all the way up to the top.
Yeah,
go ahead, Francesca.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say it's the Supreme Court's way of being like, fight amongst yourselves. It's the most I think we're already dismantling Roe. And it really basically is putting the onus on a lot of these abortion providers and women's healthcare providers to say, please be mired in lawsuits for the rest of your existence. So you basically don't have any money left to do the thing that you are trying to do, which is prevent women from dying and allowing them to have control over their own lives and bodies. No, please raise a bunch of money so you can fight this in court in that endless source of money. That's all it is. And you're hampering organizations, clinics with this law, and you're hampering the people who've been working on this issue for decades, who are day in and day out just completely exhausted, as I think we all are exhausted over this issue, which is why you have a law of the land, which is why, and we were talking a little bit of noise about Klobuchar, but I gotta say, she's been out in front on the idea of passing a federal law and further enshrining Roe v. Wade and further preventing any kind of any law from infringing on the right to have an abortion. And I think it is high time that we do that, however we do that. But this again is just the SCOTUS's way of being like, states' rights, / we know exactly what they're gonna do, which is take away the freedom to choose.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Just wearing people down. They're trying to wear down the pro-choice side. And as Francesca laid out, just bleed them dry. Lawsuits are expensive and they take a very long time, which is why the Supreme Court said, well, you guys can sue them, but we're gonna uphold the decision. Allow the law to stand. It is ridiculous. And as somebody who, when I was in the Ohio Senate, certainly a pro-choice, a champion in that legislature, really standing up for women, was able to beat back the heartbeat bill, but which, John, you have laid out that Ohio probably will, 99.9% sure it is probably gonna pass a bill like that. They've been itching rather to pass a bill like that for quite some time. And I really pushed back along with some other leaders in the legislature to really stand up for choice. That this is all this is. This is about choice. And the people who are against women having this kind of choice, maybe not all of them, but especially the ones in power who hold elected office, and especially on the GOP side, when they claim to be against big government, but they love government to be just the size to be able to fit into a woman's womb. That's they like that size.
Yeah.
They do.
And there's we've had cause over the past year, 4 years especially, to talk a little bit more about the state and nature of American democracy than before. You want to talk about something before it's finally gone. And there's a lot of things where it's seemingly irrelevant what the American people think. But in this particular case, like they're doing something incredibly radical, which is taking away women's rights that they've had for more than 40 years. So you would imagine that the bar would be very high to be able to do that. But we've already won on this issue in terms of public opinion. Like there's no debate about what the American people think about this. They don't support this. And the Democrats are in control. And yet, all around the country, more and more laws are infringing on women's rights. And we just sort of expect that a supermajority of the Supreme Court, all of them want to strip away women's rights, despite the fact that that is not at all where the American people are. So there's this massive, incredibly consequential life or death gap between what the American people think and have largely thought for literally decades, and what seems like an inevitability in terms of who has actually made it into government. Meanwhile, the Democrats are in charge. They've got a president, they got control of the Senate, and they seem to be either completely ignorant of the fact that all of this is happening, or they don't care at all. It's great that Amy Klobuchar wants to do the bill. That's great, they should do that. And then it's not gonna actually pass because Sinema and Manchin, others will be like, oh yeah, no, I think that women not getting like back alley abortions would be better, but I like the filibuster more than I like women having the ability to choose. They'll never have to actually go on TV and say that, but that is clearly what they are saying.
Yeah, and let's remember that only a few years ago, Nancy Pelosi said that you could be a Democrat and be anti-choice. Like, excuse me? What? And it's indicative of the ways that Democrats have been on their back heels on this issue for so long. They've been asleep at the wheel. Meanwhile, a Christian conservative, Christian nationalist, far right wing, obviously bastardizing the religion, have been slowly planting their attorneys to work their ways up, thanks to think tanks, thanks to dark money, to take over the Supreme Court. So what's our response? What, knit a hat? I'm sorry, okay?
Yeah.
They don't know, Democrats do not know what they're doing, and they're not serious about the issue. And we've been talking about income inequality. This is an income inequality issue. The numbers of women who have lost their jobs under the pandemic, the number of women who cannot access abortion, who are disproportionately poor, black, and brown. We understand that this is another piece of the class warfare.
Definitely, because wealthy women will continue and always have had access to reproductive health or abortion. Let's just go and call it what legal, safe, and rare. That has been the position of this country, and it should continue to be the position of this country. And many of these people really don't care about life. They are pro-birth, and then when the baby is birthed, they don't give a damn. They won't give the parent paid family medical leave. They won't make sure that the parents have a minimum wage that they can. They don't give a damn. That's just it. This is all a facade. It's just all another measure of control. So again, those small government hypocrites and let's make government smaller, they are absolute hypocrites and do not care about that life once it's birthed into the world.
Yeah.
Don't care. And there's some women who need this procedure even just for strictly medical reasons too. I mean, to be able to, in some states, the doctor will get a felony, locking up the woman, the mother. I mean, it is absolute insanity. And for Democrats to not give a care about who runs and is elected to state legislatures, this is why we are in this. This is why we got this problem right now. Partly is because all Democrats, not all, some of the mainline Democrats seem to only care about who's in the Congress and who's in the presidency. Meanwhile, getting our clocks clean on the state level of government.
Yes.
100%.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.